Welcome to the Garage Owners Network. My name is Andy Crook and I'm your host. Tonight's training topic on presenting your offer, the 4Cs contract. My mission is to help garage owners go or become more successful in business. And how do I do that? I try and go live every week on a subject on one of the 5 pillars of business as I see it. This week, we're in the systems pillar and we're talking about presenting your offer, the 4Cs of the contract. Before any business transaction can take place, an offer must be presented and agreed. This can take many forms: verbal, text, email, written, or it even be implied. The offer forms the basic terms of a contract. Therefore, it's in both parties' interest to make sure what is or isn't included in that contract is fully understood. Using the 4Cs of the contract can help garages: 1, win more business; 2, protect themselves from difficult customers; 3, delight more of their customers, think more referrals; and 4, reduce the number of incoming calls. Presenting and framing your offer is a critical stage in any business transaction. So without further ado, let's get on with the 4Cs of the contract. The 4Cs of the contract is a framework that I came up with many years ago when I was putting together the Business of Diagnostics training course. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a framework where you could effectively tick off the 4Cs when you were dealing with customers and trying to present your offer and then frame your offer to a customer. It seems a bit weird talking about an offer, but you'll understand what I mean when we get into it. And the offer is basically, what are you going to do for the customer? What do you agree to do and what you're agreeing not to do? And that bit sounds fairly straightforward. What I come up with was these 4Cs, which is the contract is clear, communication, count, and consensus. And we'll go through them all in turn. Basically, the contract is clear. You're basically explaining clearly what you're going to do. The communication is you're going to agree before any work takes place how you will communicate with the customer and how they will communicate with you and the frequency of those communications. The count is how much and how long. We all know that one because that's primarily what the customer wants to know. But there's more to it than just basically saying what you're going to do and then saying how much and how long, because you can save yourself a lot of heartache. And finally, consensus, deal or no deal. Do you want to take this job on? Does the customer want to bring their car to your garage? And let's go through this in turn and how we put together the deal or how we put together the offer needs to account for all 4 of those things. So we'll start with the contract is clear, which is the first C. So what we're talking about when we're talking about this is explaining exactly what you intend to do and, if necessary, what you won't be doing. Include a guarantee, and that guarantee can be conditional or unconditional. And immediately we've upped the ante from the basic what you're going to do conversation, your customer, right? Because we've added what we won't be doing if that's required, but we're also including a guarantee. And there's a reason for including a guarantee, and it's to do with the customer weighing up whether or not they want to use your business. So how can you make sure that the contract is clear? You need to use language an 8-year-old will understand. So I was at an event recently, and quite tongue-in-cheek, one of the presenters, who remain nameless but will probably know who he is, used this terminology: Terminal 15 thermal protection device expired. Now, that's a blown fuse, isn't it? But is it right? Is it the right way around to make the customer believe we've done something really complicated like Terminal 15 thermal protection device expired, or tell them a fuse? One of the rules when we're dealing with customers is don't make people think. Make it absolutely clear, crystal clear what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. Don't make them think. Make them not happy. The skill, the more technical something is, if you really understand something, if you really want to get really good at this, is making it sound simple. The harder the thing or the more technical something is, the more basic, the language you need to use. So when it comes to including your guarantee, conditional or unconditional, you have to provide a guarantee on your work. Now, we all know this, but there's something within the frameworks and the legal frameworks, and the two are the Consumer Rights Act 2015 for business to customers, and the Sale of Goods Act 1979 for business to business. And you want to use the remedies outlined in both of these acts as the basis of your guarantee. So these guarantees will be conditional or unconditional, and I ought to explain in terminology that an 8-year-old understand what's the difference between conditional and unconditional. A conditional guarantee means there are certain things that either you must do or the customer must do for the guarantee to apply. So there are stipulations or conditions to the guarantee. An unconditional guarantee means that there's no ifs, no buts. The outcome will be achieved or the remedies will be applied. And that's the difference between a conditional and unconditional guarantee. Now, you can imagine a conditional guarantee isn't as strong in the customer's eyes as an unconditional guarantee. But there are times when a guarantee must be conditional. And both Consumers' Right Act and the Sale of Goods Act have both conditional and conditional guarantees implied within them. But even if, and this is the bit that's not so much clever or it's not manipulating the customer or anything like that. But if you don't have a guarantee in mind for whatever it is you're doing, whatever the offer is, use the guarantee that is within those two acts, depending on whether you're selling to a business or selling to a customer. So use the two acts as the basis of your guarantee. If you can think of a stronger or better guarantee, then you can add that later. But most people don't explain there is a guarantee, or they're afraid to explain that there's a guarantee to them. Remember, you must make it clear. Next, C, communication. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to establish their preferred method of communication and how they like to be addressed. So we've talked about this before when we were talking about delighting customers and the peak and end rule. So check and record their preferred method of communication. Once you know their preferred method of communication, always check that's still how they would like to be communicated with. And make sure you're addressing them by the correct title or nickname or whatever it is that they prefer. It goes a long way if you remember these things when they turn up, because you're getting them on side. The second thing with communication is you must establish and agree on how often you will contact. And the frequency is most important because you're going to explain, if they're a new customer, how communication works at your garage. And you're going to do it very clearly. And I like to use terminology like, we will contact you. Please be patient. If there's any other news, we will contact you soon. And I always like to put a time frame on it. So if I say I'm going to contact the customer by lunchtime, is that 12 o'clock, past 12, 1:30, 2 o'clock? Put a time frame. So when that time frame expires, expect the customer to contact you if you haven't contacted them, because you have to keep your end of the bargain. Otherwise, they will break theirs. So there are some great examples of communication I've seen in automotive businesses, and some examples are extreme and some are less. But one of the ones that I'd like to get you to think about is, could you imagine running your business with no incoming calls? The only time the telephone is used is for outbound calls or incoming inquiries, new jobs, no telephone calls for existing jobs. It sounds like heaven, doesn't it? Well, that can be achieved. All you have to do is set the rules and train your customers. It's not going to happen overnight, that's for sure. Think about it. Could it be done? It can. So other examples are, you can use video messaging. You can use continuous text updates. I like this one because if a job is going to be, shall we say, quite drawn out and protracted, it's a bit like waiting on the tube station. The practical solution to waiting on a tube station is either more trains or faster trains, both of which would cost billions and billions of pounds. And what the underground network did is they put dots on the signage, and the dots show how far away the train is from the station. So you know how long you're going to be waiting. And they put a timer, next train in, however many minutes, and the dots count down. And that stops people, takes all the stress out of waiting for the train. So if you do continuous text updates, if that's how the customer likes to be contacted, it's something simple like they drop the car off and they get a text saying, we've received your vehicle. The next text they get is technician A has done the vehicle health check and noted the following. The work has been commenced, and you can then text them and ask permission. You know that customer is fully updated with what's happening with their vehicle at all times, and they don't need to contact you. I'd also like emails with pictures for, a picture of car in the workshop, picture of the car having his vehicle health check, picture of the car on the ramp, picture of the broken part, picture of the new part going on. They can see the vehicle's journey. They're things to think about. And there are garage management systems out there that will allow you to do that sort of thing and will do it for you automatically, which is fantastic. All you have to do is train your staff and train your customers. Takes me on to the third C, which is count. How much and how long? What customers want. So what we say is always clearly state the price. If you're dealing with business to customers, B2C, include the VAT. And if it's business to business, B2B, exclude the VAT. It's very confusing for a customer. And where lots of garages do this is you quote the price without the VAT to a customer, to a member of the public. And when they turn up, the bill is 20% higher than you said. Now, you know why, but they don't. And they just realize, and they pay, and often they won't say anything, but they just think that you said one price and charged them another. Think about that if that's what you do routinely in your business. If you're dealing with business customers, it doesn't matter. It's commonplace. It's almost the way we do it. We charge without the VAT. And the VAT's just an accepted part of life and it's added afterwards. I like to, when we tell people prices, is to use anchors. What I mean by anchors is base rates or the average price for this type of work. So what I mean by that is, so if someone books in for, say, a AdNew fault, you can say to them, okay, Mr. Customer, the last time or the last 5 times we've had this fault, one of these types of vehicles, the price has been £2,500 default. Are you comfortable with that? And now what that does is it positions that job at that kind of price point. Now you might think, oh, that will scare some customers off. If they can't afford the £2,500 for the repair, do you want that vehicle in your workshop and half stripped? I'd argue not. So the other thing is how long. Set clear parameters on how long the customer can expect to, 1, wait to hear from you again, and 2, when the vehicle is likely to be returned. Once again, use base rates, but add a little time for unforeseen circumstances. It's always better to come in under budget and sooner than they were expecting, because you're then under promising and over delivering. And that's what I call framing the offer. So you present the offer when you tell them what you're going to do using clear, concise language. You establish your methods of communication, and then you frame the offer with how much and how long. It's a great idea to use anchors on some jobs. You don't have to, but it's a great idea. I think it's something that works really well, because if you do it for less than the worst case scenario and under the time, they were expecting a big bill. They get a much smaller one and they'll thank you for it. The final C, the 4th C, consensus, is where we play deal or no deal. And we can only go ahead if there is a fair exchange, and a fair exchange for both parties. Remember, price is what you pay, value is what you get. And it's about adding value to the deal, presenting the offer, adding value. And that's what the guarantee does. It adds value. Want to know more about deal or no deal and how I play this game with my customers? Check out Guide 36 in the Garage Owners Network. I will, if it's not already a podcast, I will put it in the podcast. If it's not the next one, it'll be the one after that. And basically, Stephen R. Covey, in his fantastic book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, suggests there are 6 perceptions during human interactions. And basically what he's saying is these perceptions or paradigms are standards or a set of ideas is what a paradigm is, that every human does when they're presented with a human interaction. In this case, they're given an offer. And the first one is win-win, and that's when we deal. And then there's win-lose, there's win, and there's win-win or no deal. And it's the 1 and 6 that we want to concern ourselves with. If you want to learn about the rest of them, like I say, check out Guide 36. If you're listening to the podcast, it'll either be the next one or the one after that. I'll put out the deal or no deal training topic. But we want it to be a deal for us where we win and the customer wins. If we don't win or the customer doesn't win, it's no deal. And that's the only way to go forward. And that's what consensus means. Do not be afraid to turn away work that won't serve you. So how do you put the 4 C's of the contract together when you're presenting and framing your offer? The best way to do it is using a script. And that's why this particular topic is in the systems pillar. It's because it's about a script. So here's an example of a script incorporating the 4 C's of the contract for a diagnostic assessment. And we use something like this in my business, and we do a lot of diagnostic work. And that's why when I did the business of diagnostics, people find it difficult to charge for it. The word diagnostic had somehow become tainted with a plugin. And what we wanted to do was make it clear to the customer what we do that's different. So here goes. So our diagnostic assessment is a series of tests to prove what's working and what's not. Think of it like a doctor checking what's making you feel unwell. We will check and test the vehicle first, then test specific parts to make sure we don't guess. We will always know what is wrong. We know you're busy, so we'll keep you updated the way you prefer. That's phone, and they either agree, text or email. So you remind them what their preferred method is and they can correct you. We'll check in after the first stage of testing and advise you of the next steps until we have a clear diagnosis. If anything unexpected comes up, we'll let you know right away before doing any work. We charge £160 for this initial assessment, and we will get back to you with the results before 4:30 on the day. If we find a simple fix along the way, we will let you know before making any changes. No shocks or surprises. That's our guarantee. Our mission is to get you up and running as soon as possible without unnecessary repairs or wasted money. If you're happy to go ahead, we'll get you booked in. Don't forget, if we don't fix it, you get your money back. This example covers all 4 C's using easy, clear to understand language. What will be done, an unconditional guarantee, how and when communication will take place, a time frame, the price, the value, and ask for the booking. Then let the customer decide if this is a win-win for them. Play the deal or no deal game. So remember, you need to train your customers. And that sounds a bit silly, but if someone comes to you for the first time, they're not used to how you communicate and how you like to communicate with your customers. You need to reiterate that point. You need to make sure they understand that you will contact them. They won't be contacting you. And how I get around this, and I stay firm on this, and I stand my ground, what I do is I say to them, we're charging you £160 to look at your vehicle. Is it fair that if I'm looking at somebody else's vehicle, I'm stopping to answer the phone during that assessment period? Would you like it if somebody else was ringing me continuously when I was working on your car? Any understanding or reasonable customer will say, of course not. Then you say, please don't ring. We'll ring you. And the reason we give times like 13:30 and 16:30 for the ring back time is because that generally we stop in work. And that's when I have time to stop. I'm not in the middle of something to ring the customers. And that's how we do it. We have a time around lunchtime. We have a time towards the end of the day. And that's when we ring the customers. And extreme examples are to stop customers getting in touch with you is removing the phones from the shop floor. No phones out there. Yeah. A cable phone in the office. Can't take the phone in there. Yeah. Diverting the phones to answer phone during the day. Charging for any phone call like a solicitor would. Call answering service, whereby all the calls are diverted after a certain time to a call answering service, and aiming for a policy of outgoing calls for existing jobs and incoming calls only for new jobs. And that is definitely within your gifts. So what's The atomic action for this week. Start writing and using offer scripts for specific types of repairs. Eventually, you'll have offer scripts for all repairs. Pick something and see if you can write an offer script using the 4 C's of the contract for one of your repairs. Remember to include your guarantee, because that's the bit that's missing from most, and it will stand you apart. It's where you can add the value. Remember, what's stopping you is starting. And if you should, you must. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time. Thanks.